So recently my content has been heavily revolved around spending an amount of days in a hardcore Minecraft world, and you guys have been absolutely loving the content and showing crazy support on the series. But today, after asking my subscribers in a poll which video they would most like to see next, I will be taking you guys along my 100-day adventure through Hardcore Survival Island. So if you guys do enjoy today's video and are a part of more than 80% of my viewers that aren't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. It is completely free and there will be a bunch more content out like this super soon. And it would really help me towards my goal of hitting 50,000 subscribers before March, which is very possible at this point. And finally, before we get into this video, I just want to say a huge thank you to MC Pro Hosting for sponsoring this video. If you guys need any form of Minecraft server hosting at all, check out MC Pro Hosting in the description and use my code for a 10% discount off your server plan. And now, on with the video. I really hope you guys enjoy. So here I was on the start of my 100-day adventure on an island in the middle of the ocean with nothing but a tree, a hole, and a local shipwreck. So straight away, I started grabbing some wood in the attempt to get saplings. If I wasn't to get any, I would have to rely solely on shipwrecks in the world for wood, which I did not want to do. However, I got pretty lucky, and from the first tree, I was able to get 12 saplings. But starting off, this world was nothing like my previous challenges on a regular world. I had no villages or animals, meaning the only generated structures around me were shipwrecks. This also meant that for a while I had no access to a bed since there was no quick way of getting wool. My first hope was to find a mineshaft and use the string from that to create wool and make a bed. But I could hear some spiders underground, so I decided to go down to see if I was able to grab some string from them to speed up the process. Since every day without a bed that I had to go through was an extra 8 minutes in real life, which was almost double of the time per day. But then I found the cave where I could hear the mobs, and boy oh boy was there a lot of them. I suspected a mob spawner, so decided it was probably a good idea to swim over to the shipwreck and see what that loot could offer me to help me take on this cave full of mobs. And to my shock, both chests were an absolute blessing, with one of them providing carrots and potatoes, which are quite possibly the most valuable food source I can have on an island like this. So with my newfound riches, I made a new sword and pickaxe and took on the cave again. After killing all of the visible mobs, I decided to venture in, to find a bunch more deeper in the cave. So I backed out and decided to make a farm up top with my new food to allow me to become a little bit more sustainable on this island. So I killed some skeletons, bone mealed my carrots, and then after giving the cave another attempt, I decided it was probably a good idea to just mine down and avoid that after realizing death was probably imminent if I had entered again. I mined for the entire nighttime of day one and was able to grab myself enough iron to craft a full set of armor, and thanks to the armor, I was able to enter the caves with a bit more confidence than before. But there was still a lot of mobs. I was down there for a while, but on the dusk of day 4, I decided to surface again with even more iron. Still without a bed, I decided to spend part of my night of day 4 extending my island. And then for the rest of the night, I went back down into the cave to try and gather more string. Unfortunately, I was only able to grab 4 pieces, so on day 5 I started my search for further life. After a little search, I was able to spot another shipwreck in the distance, so I headed over to see what I was able to grab. And this was a pretty good shipwreck. It gave me a few things that I was able to use later in the world. And then the rest of day 5 was just spent underground again, but instead of getting iron, I was stealing dirt from the walls of the caves so that I could expand my island. I didn't want to expand my island with cobble since it would just look ugly, so I gave myself a rule of only being able to expand with dirt. But I quickly ran out, so I had to go and grab some more. And in this process, a zombie villager attacked me. This was perfect. I knew that I needed to trap 2 zombie villagers so that I could cure them, breed them, and use their trades to help me with things that aren't accessible in a world with only one island. So I boxed him like a fish and left him until I had the resources to convert him to a real villager. Then on day 8, whilst grabbing some more dirt, I came across my first diamonds, and then I found more and more. So on day 9, I was able to resurface with 20 diamonds. The next day, I decided I was sick of waiting so long for the night to be over, so I made a very dark room underground in the hopes that spiders would spawn and I could try and get some string to turn into wool and then make a bed. And wow, was this thing effective. Due to there being nowhere else in the area for mobs to spawn due to the world being 95% water, all of the mobs were spawning in my room. So after just 2 nights of farming mobs and being attacked by phantoms, I was finally able to get enough string for 3 pieces of wool. I was so happy that I was now able to sleep. So on day 13, I went on a little boat journey and grabbed some dirt from the bottom of the ocean, then headed back for day 14 and 15, which was spent expanding my island further. After my island was expanded, I was all out of dirt. So I started a joint purpose strip mining adventure to get some more dirt and also to try and find some more diamonds. But due to this world being absolutely flooded with water, most caves were submerged, which resulted in me almost dying once or twice. So after my final near-death experience, I decided it was time to head back up to the surface with what I had. And thankfully, what I had was just enough for a full set of diamond armor, a diamond pickaxe, and an enchantment table. So I grabbed some obsidian, made what I needed, and then was ready to venture into the Nether. My spawn location wasn't fantastic, but I spent the next few days exploring and gathering resources. I found some hostile piglins and decided to trade with them to try and get some leather since there was no mobs in my world for me to get them from, so I had to rely on the piglins. And then finally I found myself a nether fortress. I was able to get a wither skeleton skull from this, and also a bunch more resources. But then I found my biggest enemy, a bastion. These things have been the death of me many times in the past, but thankfully I was able to approach this one carefully and take down the brutes with ease. The loot inside wasn't fantastic, and at the end of day 23 I returned home with what I had. On day 24, I realised my mob farm was no longer mine, after mobs had completely taken over it. So I decided to steer away from it and head back to the surface and continue my work on expanding my island. After running out of dirt, I thought it would be a good idea to set off into the depths and try and find some more shipwrecks. And it didn't take very long until I found a shipwreck. On this journey, I found quite a few, and the chests were actually really rewarding. And after a little while, I found a random island in the middle of the ocean with sugarcane on it. This was huge. This would help me so much when it came to trading with villagers. So I went straight back to my island with my new sugarcane and planted it down to let it start growing. I only had a few pieces, so it was going to take a while until I could get a full-blown farm going on, but for the rest of day 30, I went down and grabbed some dirt to finally finish off where my house was going to go, and then I went to sleep. Thanks to the leather I had got from the piglins in the Nether and the paper that I had gathered from the shipwrecks, I was able to make a few bookshelves to increase my enchanting area on day 31. I then used my newly enchanted goods to help me repossess my mob farm from the mobs and turn it into an automated version. So on day 34, it was finally done. All I needed to do was add the hoppers and then it was finished. So whilst the mobs were slowly gathering down below, I started to finally, after 36 days, work on my own house. I had lived and slept on the dirt floor for too long, so decided to get to work. And this in itself took way too long, and midway through I decided to take a break and go and check on my mob farm, which to my surprise was being occupied by a zombie villager. So I lured him back up to the top and started a quick mission to convert him back. I didn't know how long I had to get back with what I needed before he despawned like my last villager, so I rushed into the Nether to try and get some more blaze rods, and after not too long I was able to return and start the recovery process. Whilst he was up there, weak at the knees, returning to a normal villager, I went down below and farmed a little bit more XP in the hopes to find another zombie villager, but unfortunately none fell down. But when I went back up, he had converted back to a normal villager. So I converted him into a librarian, and oh man were his trades good. Mending for 1 emerald, that was an incredible deal, so I couldn't waste any time and decided to go and grab 6 books right away. However, if I wanted more books in the future, I was going to need a sugarcane farm to get more emeralds, so that's exactly what I started to make. Due to me only having a limited amount of sugarcane, I could only do so much of the farm at a time while I waited for it to grow. So in the meantime, I added my new mending books to my armor and went and repaired them all with my new XP grinder. I then built all through the day of 46 and 47, and by the end of day 48, the shell of my house was officially done. The next few days were just spent doing some menial tasks around the island. My house didn't yet have a floor, and I also wanted to expand my sugarcane farm, so I got to work. At the end of day 53, I had finally finished all of the windows in my house, and then on day 54, I finally put my new sugarcane farm to use and traded some paper with my villager to get some emeralds. Then, after applying mending to my sword and pickaxe, I decided to try and kill 2 birds with 1 stone by heading into the Nether to not only repair my tools, but also to try and grab some more wither skeleton skulls, since I did not yet have enough to spawn a new wither. After a while, I was able to get 1 from one of the wither skeletons, but after many days of exploring, resource gathering, and trading, I only left with 1 extra skull to add to my collection. On day 64, I wanted to use my XP to enchant a bunch of leftover books and combine them together to make some really good enchants for my tools and armor, but I quickly ran out of XP. So I decided to make yet again another mob farm for me to get XP from. I was mining for a long time, but thanks to mending, my pickaxe was barely even affected, and by day 66, I had another fully functioning manual mob farm. Day 67 was a cloudy one, but on that day I harvested my sugarcane that had grown whilst I had been mining, and then returned down below to see my mob farm had been working perfectly. Well, not really. A creeper blew up after a skeleton shot him, causing a breach in the wall, which was quite scary. But once I had things back under control, I saw a zombie villager had spawned in there, which was perfect. So I followed the same routine as the last guy, brought him up to the top, boxed him like a fish, and then started the curing process. And after not long at all, he was back to being the man that says very little but So I transported both of my new workers in a boat and started to work on their new house, which was secretly a breeding zone. Unfortunately, I had to use all of my string, fetch a bunch more dirt and use a load of my wool, but before I knew it, I had them both in their area ready to breed. And as I left my house on the dawn of day 69, I finally had a baby villager. I then spent some time making a little drop down area where the baby villagers could drop down so I could separate them from their parents and then give them their own jobs individually, and it worked great. But all of the breeding was using up all of my food, so I had to go farming again to get some more carrots and potatoes to be able to keep up the breeding process. And yet again, I wasn't being creepy, I was just curious. So at the end of the day, they were tired and so was I, and I had a big day ahead of me, so I decided to call it goodnight. To my surprise, on day 70, a group of cats appeared on my island, so I started fishing so that I could get some fish and tame them to be my pets. I was in no rush to do this since the cats literally had nowhere to escape to. But after not too long of fishing, I was able to finally tame myself a few cats. And then the next day, I started working on getting my villagers into their own job houses. This took a lot longer than I was expecting due to the villagers not really wanting to comply with my demands, but eventually I was able to get a few of them into their rooms. And then the trading began. One of the villagers wanted carrots and potatoes for emeralds, which prompted me to make a semi-automatic farm. But unfortunately, I did not have enough dirt for that, so I had to go and grab some more. But eventually, I was able to get some food planted down and was able to continue my trades. And as much as it really pains me to say, this is all I did over and over again until day 83. I was able to grab a bunch of emeralds in the process, but that was really all that happened. But on day 84, my wither hunting mission continued. I only needed one more wither skeleton skull to be able to spawn in the wither, and after a couple of skeletons, I finally got one. So I spent a little bit more time in the Nether gathering some gold, trading and getting XP before returning on the night time of day 90 with everything I needed for the final 10 days of this adventure. So upon return, I finally had the 3 heads I needed. So I headed underground, dug out an area for the wither and decided to spawn him in. But to nobody's surprise, the wither was pretty strong, and before I knew it, everything got a little bit out of control. But thankfully, in the end, I was able to put him to rest. So on day 92, I started preparing for my final goal in this 100-day survival island world, and that was the end. I needed some better armor before taking on the Ender Dragon, so again I decided to enchant some books and upgrade my armor to have some extra protection when entering the end. I was a little bit worried that I wasn't going to have enough Eyes of Ender to get to and open the end portal, so I did a quick journey into the Nether to trade with piglins and try and get some more Ender Pearls, but unfortunately I was unsuccessful. So with the eyes I had, I started my search for the end portal. Along the way, I found a shipwreck which I was able to loot. But then eventually my Eyes of Ender went into the ground and located me towards the portal. Somehow I mined down right next to it and was able to start putting in the eyes. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for, and I was absolutely ready for it. I started off by taking a few of the towers down with my bow. And then had to swim to the top of a few to take them out closer up. And at one point, it almost all went wrong. But after a long and hard battle with this dragon, I was finally able to kill it. I grabbed the dragon egg and then started my search for an end city. It took a long time, but I finally found one. I was attacked by a few shulkers as expected, but in the end I was able to get myself some really cool loot and finally an elytra. So with everything I wanted from this journey cleared away into my ender chest to free up some inventory room, I started my flight back to the portal that I came through. And then on day 98, I was finally home. With there only being 2 days left before my 100-day challenge was over, I had one last goal I wanted to do, and I was on a very strict time schedule. I wanted to make an above-ground, fully functional mob grinder that would allow mobs to accumulate and at the push of a lever push them all down to me. So I built all through the days and nights before finally, on day 100, finishing off the build. And to actually my shock, it was rather effective. The mobs were flowing down very easily. But that was it. 100 days in Minecraft Survival Island was complete. And I won't lie, this challenge was so much harder than I had expected. The fact that I had no access to animals, and a lot of the basic stuff in the world made everything so much harder to do. But in the end, I was able to make a villager farm, a sugarcane farm, defeat the ender dragon, take on a wither, and make so much more cool memories. And that is all mainly thanks to you guys showing crazy support on these videos, allowing me to continue to do them and make them for you. So honestly, thank you guys so much for all of the support. Like I said at the start of the video, if you guys do want to go check out MC Pro Hosting, feel free to do so. The link is in the description as usual. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.